Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Eddie Marcus again. Look here, I don't want to play around with you. I want to tell it to you just like it is. Look, I want to live in a beautiful society. I want to live in a beautiful nation. I want to live in a beautiful world. And I want you to have the same beautifulness that you desire. And it appears to me, ladies and gentlemen, based upon my observation, is that in order for us to have the kind of life, or for me to have an experience in that kind of life that I want to share, it appears as if only righteous people can see that. And I say that because it appears as if only righteous people want what God wants. Now, this was on my mind, so I made a couple of notes, and I wanted to come back and share that with you because I don't know whether you've given it that much thought or not. You might ask the question, though, what is it that God wants? Well, that's simple. What does God really want when it comes down to we, the people? God wants peace amongst all of us. That's what God wants. Now, I don't know if we want peace amongst all of us. I know we don't have it, but I know God wants it. So we got an odd right there. Us against God. God wants prosperity for all of us. Do we have that? Of course not. What does that mean? That means we got an opposition to what God wants. God wants freedom for all people, for all individuals. Freedom. Do we have freedom for all people? Of course not. So again, we got odds against God. God wants the joy of life. Every individual to experience the joy of life. Do we have that? Of course not. Then that means that we are at odds against God. God wants dreams to be fulfilled. All dreams for all people. Is that happening? Of course not. Then we are at odds with God. God wants every individual to have a career to exercise the gift that has been given as a gift to humankind, to one another, to participate. This is what God wants. Do we have that? Of course not, though we're at odds with God. God wants. Do you ask, what does God want? This is what makes God God. See, so far, everything I said that God wants, it represents all people. But we don't have that, which means it represents something absent of God. Okay, God wants everybody to have those essentials necessary for survival. Everybody. What? Food, clothing, and shelter. God wants that for everybody. Does everyone have that? Of course not. So then, that's at odds with God. God wants everybody to utilize education for the benefit that education serves. Unlimited and unrestricted. Is that available to all people? Of course not. So then we are at odds against God again. God wants health care from the womb to the tomb for all people. Is that a reality? Of course not. So it's at odds with what God wants. See, when you look at it all, it basically says that God wants your needs, all of the people on this earth, your needs, your wants, and your desires met. That's what God wants. Is that happening for you? Of course not. So what does that mean? That means that you're living in a situation that is at odds against God. God wants you to live here on this earth as though you are in heaven. Is that happening? Of course not. Now, these things that I just shared with you, what evidence do I have to support the information that I just shared with you? What has God done to inform us? Well, first of all of the resources necessary to mankind to do anything that mankind can ever do have already been stored in the earth by the power that created this earth, that built this earth, stored it in the earth, on the earth, and above the earth. All kinds of resources, seen and unseen, from the beginning of time throughout all eternity, to serve the imagination of humankind so that they might create whatever it is that they desire. And not only did God store these resources in the earth, he put in man the ability to determine what is needed. Why? When he gets hungry, that means he's got to get some food or something. You need to get some out of the elements. That means some kind of shelter. Might be a hole in the ground at one time, or a cave, or whatever it is up today. But it's giving you these instincts that draws you to reach out and desire whatever is missing. And that exposes you to the resources and you being able to extract from it. I mean, God is a magnificent God. He gave you the ability to take your gifts and create all that you can imagine. I mean, we could have done much more if we had been walking according to the principles of God. We would have had cures for all kinds of sicknesses and diseases. We would have had that. Look what's going on in California. Over on the west, should I say, the west coast. It seems, according to the news reports, that the place is burning down. Somebody over here fussing about some discrimination. What in the world is that about? Focusing on the discrimination, focusing on lies that's told by certain part of the government, the nation being burned down by fire. All of these things happening. Why? Because we are working and operating without God. Now listen, when we really think about this being a political season, the Democrats, you hear what the Democrats want. And if you are a Democrat, or even if you're not a Democrat, and you don't want what Donald Trump wants, you're trying to go Democrat temporarily. But that even then, it represents a certain part of the population. Am I correct? Okay, let's switch that to the other side, the Republican Party. You know what they want. Do they represent anything that the Democrats want? It's the American people at odds with one another. The American people is a house divided against itself. The American people need some kind of guidance and a God that can guide them. Not a God that's riding over there with the Democrats. Not a God that's riding over there with the Republicans. But a God that is God of both. And requires the same of both in order for both to get what each say that they want, need, and desire. And that's basically some principles. And what are they? That you take without me going in it. Let me see if I made any more notes before I start running my mouth. Okay. Now, that basically means, ladies and gentlemen, that in order for this house, which is so divided, this nation that is so divided, to be able to go in a cell, to go forward, we got to bring this baby back together. See, we've been tricked. Something that separates us, that's drawing us apart, is drawing us apart for a benefit. There's a benefit that's being given to some other party that we don't even know about. But we think that our problem is across on the other side. That's not our problem. Our problem is our focus. Our focus is on man, this lie that we've been told that holds us, as opposed to focusing on God, that which created us, that draws us back together, that draws us back together like this, ladies and gentlemen, letting us know that everything that exists belongs to God, and that it was all given for we, human beings and all living things, to use as they desire, and really however we desire. But there are ways that we can use it that will promote heaven on earth. And there are ways that we can promote what we've been promoting. But in order, us again, to promote heaven on earth, we got to recognize that all things belong to God. And we belong to God. And that God living in us is God loving us through us by the various gifts that each of us have, so that we can participate in the creative process, in creating heaven on earth for all of us. There's no such thing as a heaven on earth for some of us. That's a deception. That's a big old phony lie. So what I'm basically saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, is this. For me, Republicans and Democrats are agents of evil. They don't know it, but they are. And why do I say that? Because under the administration of the policies of either, there is pain and suffering, a lack of food and clothing and shelter and education and health care and jobs for people all over the planet, especially here in America. And it's okay with the Republicans, it's okay with the Democrats, and it's okay with the church. And to me, it is not okay. So I say that anybody that says that that is okay is an agent of the devil and doesn't even know it. And the reason that I'm saying this to you is because I know you don't know it. And I know no one probably has ever spoken to you like I just did. And you might think about it, and you might see what I'm saying. And if you do, then what I have done has been worthwhile. And anyway, I want to thank you for giving me this much of your time. And till next time, if there is one, this is Eddie Marcus saying good morning.